everyone, Elsie Jensen. Today we're going to make Italian stuffed peppers with pasta, a cheesy garlic bread, and brownies. So first we are going to start out by making the base for our stuffed peppers. And I'm going to put in 2 slices of bread. You can use any type of bread that you want, like a soft bread. You don't want something too stiff. But I like to use bread over breadcrumbs for my filling. So I'm going to put 2 slices of bread in here, and I'm going to cover them and soak them with some half and half. You could use milk if you wanted to, but I find half and half makes for a really moist filling in ours because it's very similar to a meatball filling. So I'm just going to cover the pieces of bread until they're completely soaked, because this is going to be what holds my meat mixture together in my peppers. And then I'm going to crack in 2 eggs because I'm going to use about 2 pounds of ground beef. Had a little shell escape here. And then I'm going to put in some Italian seasoning and garlic salt, and I'm going to let that sit and kind of soak for a second. Until it's absorbed all of the liquids, and then I'm going to mush it into a paste. So I'm just going to good amount of garlic salt because this is what's going to be flavoring my meat. And I'm going to put in some Italian seasoning. This is Mrs. Dash's Italian medley, and I'm going to put in about a tablespoon of it because this is what I'm going to use to season the meat of my base. It's kind of like a meatball stuffed pepper. My water over here is boiling. I had it preheating before it came on, so I'm going to throw in my pasta. I'm just going to use a rigatoni today because it just works well with the sauce and everything. But you could use spaghetti, fettuccine, any type of pasta noodle you wanted to. Had one overboard. I'm going to give this a good stir so none of it sticks to the bottom. Perfect. Now we're going to start. I'm going to prepare my peppers. So you could use regular bell peppers. I have some long bell peppers.
You got a question about the biscuits, how they turn out?
Oh, they were great. They're actually all gone. My kids ate them all. And my father came over and he was like, these are the best ones. He really loved the blueberry ones. He thought those were the best. But they were delicious. Thanks for asking. So I've got these sweet peppers, but you could use regular bell peppers. I'm just going to cut them down halfway and scoop out the inside. These are going to be kind of like a pepper boat, almost like it. But we've done stuffed peppers in them before, and they work great. So I'm just going to peel out the inside, get the seeds out, and then I'm just going to lay them lengthwise in my little cast iron pan here. But you could use any baking dish. But you're going to want it to be high enough up because we're going to be pouring in some sauce. So you need to have it sized. It can't just be a baking pan. So I'm going to cut these down. Again, you could use regular bell peppers if you wanted. These were on sale at Costco this week. And I love sweet peppers. I think they have a nicer flavor than regular bell pepper. Get out the seeds here and any of this fiber stuff. But this is a great way to sneak in some extra vegetables with your kids. My kids love these. They each eat about 1/2 of the pepper, the boat. I mean, some of them will just scoop out like the meatball filling, but I like to pretend that they eat all the the peppers. Get these guys out. And I've got one more. This one's kind of crazy, so I'm gonna do a little creativity with this one, and I'm going to scrape it out. We'll put it in here. I might have to shift some. Okay, so we've got our peppers in here. They'll be ready. Now we're going to start with our meatball base. So I've had it soaking in here, the bread, so it should be soggy now essentially. And I'm just going to use my hands, and I'm just going to smush it up. So it's kind of like you're just smushing all of the bread in there so you don't have any big chunks of it until it's like a very paste. This is what's going to season your meat that we're gonna stuff our peppers with, and also keep its form so it doesn't just crumble apart, but it will be more like a meatball. And this is some ground beef. I buy it in bulk and then I divide it up. So this is about 2 pounds of ground beef, or ground chuck. I think this one might be ground chuck. Throw that away. And now I'm just going to make sure I thoroughly mix my ground beef into my seasoned paste. That way it will be seasoned all the way through and will help keep its nice form. You can also, the long ones will bake faster than if you do a big, like a green pepper or a bell pepper if you cut it off, because this is laying the meat out more lengthwise instead of compacting. There you go. But I do 2 types of stuffed peppers here. These are Italian ones, which I serve with pasta, and then I do a Mexican stuffed pepper, which I will mix meat and rice together and use more Mexican seasonings and cheddar cheese on top of this. So you can see I've got them pretty much all mixed together here and combined. So it's kind of a sticky paste. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stuff each one of these boats, little green pepper boats, just fill it up, just like this. So it's gonna be kind of like, almost like a meatloaf inside each boat. And then we'll cover it with a marinara sauce and some Parmesan cheese, and we'll let that bake in the oven at 400 for about 30 minutes or so, give or take. It doesn't take long for these to cook up, which is nice. So today we just came back from a futsal game, which if you don't know what futsal is, it's like playing soccer on a basketball court. But since we didn't get home until a little after 7:30, I was like, what can I whip together quickly for the kids? We're more late nighttime eaters. We wake up later and we eat later. So my kids are used to eating dinner around 8:30 every night. I think one time we tried to do dinner earlier and they're like, at 8 o'clock, they're like, when are we having dinner? And I was like, we ate at 6. We've already eaten dinner. They're like, oh, that was dinner? So yes, we do eat a little later than most people, but it just fits our busy schedule just because we have just so much sports and after school activities to do. There we go. I almost have these all stuffed and fill it out nicely. My younger kids will eat about a half a pepper each.
Got a question of what the filling is for the boats?
So the filling is ground beef, and then I soaked 2 slices of bread in some half and half until they were soggy, then 2 eggs and Italian seasoning and garlic salt, and I made a nice paste and I mixed it together, and now I'm stuffing it in each of my little pepper boats that I have here, just right that you can kind of see them, and I'm gonna bake them. So it's kind of like a meatball filling or an Italian meatloaf, and that's the filling for it. And I'm gonna cover them with marinara sauce and a little bit of Parmesan cheese, and we'll bake them. And the peppers will get nice and tender as they cook in the sauce, and then we'll just scoop the sauce over some noodles so it has like a nice seasoned sauce over it. But it's just a nice twist on it. Sometimes my kids get a little bored of just having spaghetti and meatballs or whatnot. So I have a little bit of extra marinara sauce that I'm going to use here, and I'm just going to pour it all over. Make sure it gets underneath because I want the peppers and everything to really cook in the sauce. And again, this sauce is also what we're going to be scooping on our pasta. Oh, I got a tricky one, so I'm going to use my little hack. If you ever struggle opening a jar, you just take a butter knife and you just pop it in the wedge until you can release out some of the air, and it should open up nicely for you. Let's see, gotta get in there. This one is not, might have, there you go. I think I got it. There we go. You just gotta pop that air and break the seal. This is some vodka sauce, which is marinara sauce that has like a little bit of cream and cheese in it. So I'm spreading this all around, just like this. And then let me get a spatula. I'm gonna cover it because I want it to cover each one of my peppers, the meat there, and so it can bake and season that as well. And then I'm just gonna throw over some Parmesan cheese and I'm gonna pop this in the oven. My oven's preheated to 400 right now. So easy. But this is quick and I can pop this in here, and while the noodles are cooking, I'm using shaved Parmesan cheese. I love shaved Parmesan cheese because it gives you some nice big chunks of Parmesan. There we go, and it has nice melting. So I'm just gonna cover, and now I'm going to pop this in my oven. So I have my oven preheated to 400. That way it can just start cooking once it's in there, which is how we're gonna have a quick meal. So I've got mine cooking in here. Perfect. And now I'm going to prep my brownies, and then we will make our cheesy garlic bread because that needs the least amount of time in the oven. So for my brownies over here, again, I got a pan over here that I'm gonna put them in. And let me just clear off all my baking stuff's over here. So I'm just gonna do a little slide. And I'm gonna do a quick stir of my noodles. And so these are rigatoni, so they're gonna take a little bit longer to cook than a spaghetti noodle or whatnot, which works well with this dinner. There. And now we're gonna make our brownies. So I'm going to first start out with, I've got a cup of, or is it a cup? Let me see, let's think about it. It's 1 1/4 cup of flour. These are good. These are one of my favorite brownies. They taste better than anything you can buy at like the store. They're just simple, easy, but delicious. So about a 1 1/4 cup of flour, like this. And then you need a cup of cocoa powder. There, I lost the lid. So this is part of where the chocolatey goodness is gonna come in. I'm gonna get a spoon to scoop it out. We're also going to use some chocolate chips in here. So those together add for a really chocolatey flavor. So 1 1/4 cups of flour, and then 1 cup of cocoa powder. And again, this doesn't have to be an exact science with the cocoa powder. If you get a little extra, that's fine. I'm just going to flatten it out. Perfect. Oh, it smells yummy. I love the smell of cocoa powder. It's like a deep chocolate. And I'm just gonna give this a quick stir, real quick. And then to sweeten up our brownies, we're gonna actually be using brown sugar. It makes for more chewy brownies and rich over just white sugar. Gives it just a nicer flavor profile, I think. So I'm gonna add in some of my brown sugar. And I'm gonna use about 1 1/2 cups of brown sugar. I'm going to want to pack it down with brown sugar. Unless your recipe states not to, they typically always mean for you to pack your brown sugar down just because it is more fluffy. So I've got 1, and I'm going to do a 1/2 cup more of brown sugar. Now, perfect. And let me wash my hands real quick. Got a little bit of brown sugar on it. And I'm going to stir this up, and then we're going to add melted butter, 4 eggs, and some chocolate chips. Do this. Oh, and let's not forget, we got to add a little bit of salt. Always use salt when you're baking. It just cuts down on the sweetness and really brings out the flavor profiles. So I'm going to use about a teaspoon of salt. Oh, hey, Bruni. About a teaspoon there. I'm going to give it a good mix. I'm not going to use any other baking soda or baking powder in it. It's just going to be the eggs in here, which will give it a nice fudgy texture. I had my butter melted in the microwave, so I'm going to go grab that real quick. So I'm using 2 sticks of melted butter, which is 1 cup of melted butter. I prefer using melted butter in my recipes over oil. I just think it adds a more bakery texture and flavor. So I'm gonna stir this up. Now I'm gonna put my melted butter in here. And I'm gonna crack in my 4 eggs. One, 2, 3, and 4. And the trick with making brownies is you don't want to over mix your batter. So it's different from a cake where you want to make sure it's really mixed in. With brownies, you don't want to over mix it. You don't want to beat those eggs, and that will just make you more of a cake brownie versus a fudgy brownie. So I'm gonna give this a nice stir. Mix it all up, and then we'll add our chocolate chips towards the end. There we go. You see how it's coming together real nice? It's nice and fudgy and chocolatey, and that's from having a whole cup of cocoa powder in there. And then we're gonna add even more chocolate. We're gonna add chocolate chips, but these are just the most delicious brownies you can have. And they're great because it's really simple and you can throw them together real quick. So I've got these mixed up, and now I'm gonna add in some semi-sweet chocolate chips. I'm just using the regular size. You could use mini, you could use different things. Oh, my dog, I think, got a piece of plastic. Let me go and check that out. Bruni, did you steal something out of the trash? So I'm gonna pour in about a half a bag of chocolate chips. I stirred those in, but let me just grab this. Miss Bruni, did you grab our ground beef bag, you silly girl? Okay, so I'm gonna stir these in, and these are just gonna give you some really gooey chocolate bits in your brownie. And they're just perfect. And this is gonna make, this isn't just like a regular size batch of brownie, but we do feed a small army here. We have most days 9 mouths to feed. I have 5 kids and then my parents. I'm gonna get a little non-stick spray so I can spray my thing. So a batch of these brownies might last us a day or 2. And I'm gonna really coat my pan here so that it doesn't stick. And I'm gonna spread out these brownies just like this. And scrape it, and then I'll spread them out and I'll pop them in the oven so that these will be ready right when we're about done eating. They only take about 30 or so minutes to cook. Brownies take a lot longer to cook than cakes or stuff like that because they're so fudgy, but they're so delicious. Okay, and then I'm gonna just spread it out. And the eggs in here is what's gonna gonna have the brownie mixture puff up. Here we go. And here. Although it's funny, growing up, we had, I don't know if anybody had these, one of those brownie pans where you could have edges on all of them, and I thought it was the worst pan ever. And now that I'm an adult, I feel like the edge brownies are the best. There's a little bit more in here. You don't want any of it to go wasting. And scoop, spread, and now these are ready to go into the oven. So I'll pop this in the seat. And we'll pop this in the oven real quick. We can check on our peppers while they're cooking. And then I'm gonna check my noodles real quick, and then we'll make our cheesy garlic bread. Ooh. You can see, starting to get nice. I'm cooking my brownies. I'm gonna turn my oven down to 350, and they'll bake with the rest of that. So I'm just gonna change it to 350. There we go. And my brownies are gonna cook at that. Let me pull out a noodle here, and I wanna check it real quick. I feel like we might be getting close to it. Let's see, I'm gonna bite into it. Almost. Well, they're still a little bit tough. You can see just a little bit of white on there. Probably hard to see in there. But I like my noodles to be soft, so these are still, they still need about 2 more minutes to cook. I'm gonna grab out a tray and some parchment paper. We're gonna line this. This is for our garlic bread that we're gonna do. I had some leftover brioche rolls and I don't want them to go to waste, so we're gonna turn them into cheesy garlic bread. So I'm gonna put a little bit of butter in my saucepan here and melt it up with some garlic so I can get that good garlicky flavor infused in it. And then we'll prep, make sure I get the right one on. And I'm gonna just put a little bit of fresh garlic in here. Or not fresh garlic, but minced garlic. You could use fresh garlic if you want to. I'm gonna let those melt up and saute together, and let's prep our rolls. So I'm just using some brioche rolls that we had left over. And I'm gonna slice them down the middle, because what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put some of this garlic butter that I have going in the middle and some mozzarella cheese, and then I'll put them on and brush them with some more garlic bread and pop it in the oven. So I'm gonna cut them down the middle, just like this. I always like to try to find ways to reuse some of my ingredients so nothing gets wasted in here. So if we don't eat up something, I'll try to refashion it into something else like bread pudding, or we might do sliders with these. Just ways to make sure nothing goes to waste. Perfect. These brioche rolls were really soft and tender, and they were quite delicious for it. So I've got all of these. I'm gonna put my tops to the side, and I'm gonna get a little bristle brush to stir this, because this is what I'm gonna be using to coat it. But I wanna let that all butter or melt real quick. I'm gonna add in a little bit of garlic salt too, so that has a nice saltiness. So we're getting the hit from the minced garlic and the garlic salt. I'm a big lover of garlic salt. I think it adds nice seasoning to your cooking. So I'm gonna put this in here, let it saute up, and my noodles are just about done. So I am going to drain them real quick while that melts. Just gonna take, this is a great colander. If you don't have one, it just pops out really easily. Let me turn off my stove first. And I'm just gonna pour my noodles out here. I'm gonna drain down. I always say pour the water over your dirty dishes and let it soak. It will just make it easier for you to clean later. They say work smarter, not harder. I'm gonna give it a shake because I don't want to have too much extra water in there. And then I'm just gonna pour back our noodles. I put them over here off the direct heat. And so they don't stick together, I'm gonna put just a little bit of butter in. You could use olive oil too, but I had some butter right here, so that's what I'm using. Put a little bit of that in there. And then our garlic salt is perfect over here. And turn it off. So we have our garlicky butter mixture. And I'm just going to brush the bottoms of each one, or the inside, real quick. And then I'm gonna use, you could use shredded mozzarella. I happen to have some mozzarella slices, so I'm going to use that, and I'm going to put a slice of mozzarella over this, and then I'm gonna put garlic butter on the top, and then I'm gonna brush the garlic butter on top of that as well. So you're gonna have a nice garlic butter, but they're gonna have a cheesy inside, which will be nice. It'll be like a cheesy pull-apart, so I'm gonna click and get away with 1.5. You don't need too much cheese on it. Just nice to give you a little pull through. Let's see. There. So I used, I think, what, 4 slices of mozzarella, but you could just use shredded if you have it, or pizza cheese. Any type of Italian cheese would work well with this. And then I'm going to coat these top pieces too, so I can get that good garlicky flavor everywhere. Just like this. Scooping some of those little garlic pieces on here. And then And this will be great with the pepper, like the stuffed peppers and the marinara sauce with the noodles, because you can dip all of this stuff, like you can dip your garlic bread in the marinara sauce as well. And then I'm just gonna do a quick brushing over the top. That way I'm really infusing the garlic flavor everywhere. It'll make for a delicious garlic bread. Perfect. And then I'm gonna sprinkle a little bit of my shaved Parmesan cheese over. I'm gonna push it all the way up here. Perfect. Get some of these big ones. And then I pop this in the oven with my other stuff as well. So I've got these yummy, my garlic bread with the mozzarella in the middle and the garlic sauce. We'll pop them in here. We can check on our brownies and our things. They're cooking up nicely. I am very not heat sensitive, so I'm just gonna give a touch to see how my things are baking. They're hot to touch but not burning, so they need about 10 or so minutes left to cook. But I'm gonna just prep up these noodles real quick. So I like to I like to dress up my noodles a little bit. So I put the butter in there, so I'm gonna see how it's melted. And now, just to dress it up to make it real simple, I'm going to add a little bit of heavy cream and some garlic salt. And it will make like a garlicky butter noodles, which will just add a little bit more flavor. So just a little bit, probably maybe like 1/4 of a cup. A little bit of cream goes a long way. You don't actually need as much as people think. And then a good shake of garlic salt right here. And we're gonna turn these. And then I'm gonna sprinkle a little bit of our Parmesan cheese. So you can see Parmesan cheese has been used in almost all of the dishes right here, and we'll kind of blend it nice together. So I have a nice flavor to it. And some of my kiddos who prefer, like I have one who just likes the noodles on their own without the red sauce. So this gives them options as well. Perfect. And you can see how that Parmesan cheese, I'm not even cooking it over heat. I'm just using the residual heat from the noodles, and it's starting to melt it. And it's got a nice coating, but it's not dripping. So it just has a nice lighter seasoning on it, which is what we want. Perfect. Let me slide this out of the way. And in just a second, we'll be able to take our garlic Parmesan stuff out of things, but I gotta clear this off so I have a space to put it here. So let me put this away, but this is a easy meal that you can make on the weekend or on the weeknights if you wanna pop out food. I mean, we started here like 20 or so minutes ago, and food should be ready in the next 5-10 minutes, and we'll be ready to eat. But while you guys are waiting, I'm gonna show you guys our pantry. What we did, we made our pantry, so we have a family of 5, so it's quite big in here. It's not actually, well, it holds a lot because we did things. So I keep all my baked goods up here. It's kind of dark in here, but I keep our baked goods up here, our easy accessible snacks down there for the kids so that they can grab snacks on their own when they feed it. It wraps around the corner, my canned goods on the side, but we did this last year when we remodeled our kitchen. Our pantry used to be in our laundry room, and it was a disaster. It was just 2 double doors with those wire shelves, and I kept losing things in the side, and I said, we have to redo our pantry because we have a big family. There's just no way this is gonna work. And so we took out of our playroom, which is right over here. Excuse the mess. Our playroom is messy. We had our cousins over today and their babies, and they dumped every single basket. But you can see we took our pantry right there. We cut it out into this playroom right here, and we're building a loft on the top. So we're gonna have a rope ladder instead. But that was completely unused or not usable space that we were using. And we built this and it's been a lifesaver. You know, sometimes you just have to think outside of the box with the layout of your house that you have. And we stole from a room that we didn't need to give us a much bigger pantry that was more functional for our family. But I think we can check on our stuffed peppers and see how they are cooking. Again, these things, they don't take very long. So let me look at them. Pull it out so you can get a look. I'm gonna give them a quick little touch to see if they're firm. We're getting there, we're almost firm. And here is our garlic bread. I'm gonna switch it up on top because I want it to start getting some more, and I'm gonna put my brownies right down here. You can see I've got a nice chocolate bubble going around on our brownies from the butter. But dinner is gonna be served in probably 5 to 10 minutes, but I don't have really much else for you guys to see. So what I will do is I will post a picture of our finished product later because I hate to keep you guys on unless you guys have any questions for me. But if you guys like, please subscribe and send comments or messages about anything you'd like to see me cook. But I will post that picture later once we open up and eat so you guys can see how delicious it is. You can see pretty much how it is, but we'll essentially just take the noodles and then we'll scoop a pepper on it and we'll have the cheesy garlic bread and then the brownies for dessert. So simple but easy, the kids love it.